Hi everyone. So in today's topic, we are going to cover the Prometheus in Windows Store. Okay. I hope you must have some idea about Prometheus, right? Okay. If not, then let me introduce you the Prometheus object. The name suggested, it's Prometheus, right? How a Prometheus works in real scenario. If you think of a customer base where you have a client, let's say we are all dealing with clients, right? So in a client base, when client is asking for something, what are we doing? We promise to give you the stock, right? What he is asking for, we are ready to give you, and we are promising. Okay. So this promise object is going to do the same thing in the same manner, probably in technical steps with your coding and everything. Here you have words to promise, but it has protocols to promise. Okay. Okay. So introducing myself just before beginning the session. I have all this certification. I have a MCTS certification with me in 4 different technologies with ASP.NET, with 2 of them are from Dynamics CRM. I also have a PCD holder. Moving towards my skills, CRM, Commerce Server, .NET, and also have PhoneGap, Titanium, and now looking forward and moving ahead with WinJS, the new Windows technology, and also Xamarin is also being added there. And connecting with me is very easy with Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, their blogs, and also Skype. And you can contact me on my emails, nirmal@mindfresolutions.com, and my personal email, nirmal@gmail.com. Okay, that's all about me. Moving towards the agenda today. What is the promise? The first question, and the obvious question that we are going to ask and we are going to discuss it. Then the other question is how it works. Then some frequently used methods. We'll see. It has a lot of methods, so we cannot cover them all. So we'll only look at those methods which are frequently used. Advantage of promise. Of course, it has some advantage. That is the reason why Microsoft came up with this nice objects, because if you move towards little background, little history, they do not have support for WinJS. I mean, this kind of JavaScript, HTML to design native apps, right? So when this cross-platform era came in, so like your PhoneGap, your Titanium, when this era came in, Apple. I mean, I'm talking about Apple first. Who are they are the you can say the base inventor of smartphones. Smartphones were not there. This mobile device with intelligence was not there. So when Apple came up with this one, they have this Objective C to design your native applications. Right? When this HTML5 era came in, so people started developing native application. I mean, thought of developing native application using HTML5, JavaScript now. Once Steve Jobs said no. I mean, Apple said no. They were not agreeing to allow this kind of middle layer things, because you have a WebKit which is running in behind, right? It's dealing with your front end HTML5, JavaScript, and everything, and compiling it back to the native code, and it's interacting with all hardware APIs, and which is equivalent to your Objective-C. I mean, the same capabilities that it has. So at some point of time, they were not agreeing, and anyway, it's a history. And then later on, things are went away, and a long discussion went on, and finally it has been approved. Like HTML5 are allowed, I mean, your Apple allowed to allowed HTML5 to go on, right? Okay, coming back to Windows. So now Windows, looking into all these perspectives, they have also came up with this nice JavaScript framework which is called WinJS, Windows for JavaScript library. So when they came up with WinJS, also they came up with Promise. So we'll look into what are the advantages of Promise. So just moving ahead. Okay. So the first question that we have already in our agenda, what is the Promise? Schedule work for future. Okay. So what do you mean by schedule work for future? I'm just moving to next slide so that it makes more understanding. We have two things, application and a server, right? Of course, Promise is not so much important when you are designing a standard application which is not dealing with the server, right? So coming to this era where you have a client, you have a server. You have a client called application and a server being seated somewhere. Now your application asks to the server, give me my stuff, right? And in the background it's thinking like, if I get my stuff, then I have to deal with. I'll manipulate the stuff when I get them back. Right? This is something like when you're going to market to purchase something and you're thinking in mind, if I get this, then I have to do that, right? The server promises back. Okay, I'll give it to you back. An application is not waiting for to get it back, right? Okay. So what it is doing is it's moving next. It's trying to do the next work. It's not sitting idle to wait and watch what is coming back and what stops at server is going to return. And in between, server starts searching, right? Or I'll just define the searching. It can be manipulating. It can be fetching. It can be doing any background query runs, fetching from database, everything. Whatever server can do, it tries its best to produce the best to the application. As you are doing, like if client sends a request, then you are burning all your rights just to make it fruitful, right? Now, got it. Server now 9 seconds ready to deliver. Here is the stop. So the stuff is ready and it's with the application. And mind it, during this waiting period, like puts a request and getting the request, there is a delay, right? There is a gap, and in this gap, your application is not idle at all. It's doing its own job, right? I'll come into the magic of Promise, why and how. Let's manipulate because I have the stubs, the app has the stubs, right? Although it has moved forward with the UI operation and other operations that are not associated with this particular request response format. So it's doing the other job in between, and when it gets the response back, it started manipulating the stuff that we have, right? Okay. So moving back to my previous slide, asynchronous programming approach. So this is what is called schedule work for future, right? So it's a future work. Like it has been scheduled. Give me my stuff. I am doing this one. So this has been scheduled and things are going on. And it also signifies, it indicates that this is a asynchronous programming. Asynchronously working without hampering the main thread, the foreground thread, right? Question. Okay, the other point is there as well. Run in background thread. So where is the thread here? So the question is, can we create threads in JavaScript? Any idea? Yes. Any clue?
You cannot because it is running on one
Okay. Any answer? Okay. If we mix both the answers, almost correct. It runs on a single thread. chaos thread. Correct. Then the question is, if it runs on a single thread, then there is asynchronous programming. Of course, there is some other thread running behind. Have you ever heard about term web workers? Web workers. So that's the answer. Web workers are something which runs behind to carry forward the next level thread, which is a background thread, right? Without hampering the main foreground threading. Okay. So Winchester Promises also uses similar kind of things, workers. Okay. So these workers are running behind to get our job done. You can imagine a scenario where you have a long running XHR call, waiting for a huge response. Some big manipulation needs to be done in the background in the server. All this scenario, think of you are working on a application which is real time update, right? And you are waiting response, preview and responses up. You are waiting responses from the server, but you don't want to hamper your user to dealing with the app. Right? So in that scenario, this is going to be very helpful, because if you have a long running Ajax or etc., you are fetching the data and your user is sitting at it. Think of the scenario. Probably the vendor has to, the client has to walk down to you to show the app in your face, right? Okay. So this is how this background thread running is held. Okay. So it's not going to block the foreground. The foreground is free, and the background is running, and the promises are holding back or maybe waiting back in the background as a silent actor to get the response back and give it back to the app. So the application basically will not to bother. As soon as you fire a promise will go. You can think of a layman term. If I going to explain the promise is a kind of break point or a set point, you can say. The app need not to bother about. The promise is sitting there. He knows someone has gone to get something and he is waiting at the door. As soon as that person will come back with the response, that will get invested in the app. And app has to function. So app need not to bother about what is happening in the background. As soon as app delegated it to promise, now it's promise work to deal with it. Well, go deep when we are dealing with the demo now. I demonstrate how it's really working in real life. By convention, Winchester uses async as a what do you say? Suffix. So async is the suffix usually used by the method. Some frequently used methods. Then, done, any, join, cancel, and there are a lot. Adds, and a lot. So, of course, as I said, we cannot demonstrate all, or we cannot explain all in this limited time. So, I have get few of them. Then, what is self-explanatory? Then is a method which gets fired when your object, your goal is fulfilled. Request went away, response came back. Okay, now it's then. Okay, so in literature term, after if my work is done, then do this. So then allows us to define the task what is being performed after the whole request response cycle is done, or my promised work is done, or my promised goal is fulfilled. Right? So it comes to then. Done. Similar. Would, then, does, done also do the same thing. Now the question will come to mind, why then and done, there are two things. I'll come back to that. Just keep the question in mind and be patient. ME, okay. let's say think of a scenario where you have a series of tasks to do, right? I have let's say this is one promise. As soon as this one is done, please do this promise. As soon as this one is done, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm saying okay. Let's say I have a series of tasks to do. Let's say you have 5 X's are called to do, right? And you want, and they are independent. They are not dependent on each other. So the first one may complete first, and the last one may complete the second, and the second one may complete it last, right? So they are independent. They flows parallel. I mean, as per the volume of data being fetched. But what you are thinking? Your job is to perform a certain task when all these promises are complete, right? You have 5 promises to do, 5 exercise calls to do. I'm just to be very specific. I have 5 exercise calls to do, which are running purely parallel. One is not dependent on the other, but at the end, your job is to do some task when all of them are complete. Then, moving a bit down, the join comes to the picture. This one. The join is the method which allows the user or the programmer to watch out when all its promises are done. Then we can define the task in join. Then what is the task of any? Just a bit different. Like join waits for everyone, but any executes when any of one of them is done. Right? So this is what difference between join and any. Cancel, self-explanatory. You can see long running task. So if you are to cancel in between, you can simply cancel. You can call the cancel method. It has no parameters. Simply call the cancel method, gives the process. Right? The evaluated question. Then versus done. Both of them are used after the completion of promised task. True. Both the methods take the same kind of parameters: completed, error, and in progress handler. Okay, so what are they? They are like, how do you say, like callbacks? Yeah, similar thing. Like when the promises get complete, you can write your handler in completed. I mean, if you want to deal with do my set of tasks, as soon as it's completed, go with this one. If you want to measure a progress, like yes, it is in progress, then you can write a handler in progress handler, right? And the error is obvious. If you get any error in your response handling, in your promise, then it comes back to the error. Okay. Then returns a promise object, whereas done returns undefined. So, since as I said, then and done both are methods. Methods would have written here. Right? So, because then, when you are saying like do my task dot then and then ends, and again if you put a dot, then it populates again then, because the promise has a then, done and done, right? But when it's a done, it has no return. Yeah, it's done. Usually it uses, we use in normal scenario. Then in the chaining system, what I said, like do this task. If this is completed, then do this task. If this is completed, then do this task. This is the chain of promises, right? Get this. Let's say you are getting list of businesses. Get my businesses first. If my businesses are there, then get their images first, and then get their images. If the images are there, then get their other details, right? So this is called chain. So in this chain, we usually use then, just because we can change the promises. But done is something when we are done. We don't have to do any other promise task. So if all these are done at the end of the chain, then do my this task. Finished. Okay. And in case of exception occur in the promise block, then puts the error in the promise object and returns it back, because promise is the return type of then, right? But if you say done, it throws you outside the same way the usual function throws to us. There is no return type. I mean, if you think of practical scenarios, very simple. You have a object to return, then it has a open end, it has an attribute in which it can populate the error and throw you back, send you back, and you can deal with the object. But when it's done, it has nothing to return, right? It's undefined, I already said. So it throws the error outside as a similar other functions too, right? Advantages. It has n number of advantages. We cannot list them all out. Few of them. No blocking of main thread for long running XHR calls. This can be handled in background. This is one of the biggest advantages. Just not to block the application. Then it happens to all of us. Right? When you're opening Visual Studio and closing it out, sometimes it says like, please wait, there is a long running task is going behind and seeing the progress bar. It's very annoying, right? Sometimes you are not able to click close the Visual Studio and you have to sit and wait until the dialog goes down. Imagine if it will have only a dialog without anything, any progress bar. That will be more hectic, right? I mean, it's hard to wait for. So, Prometheus, thank God Prometheus is there, which is going to save us from waiting without any information. Just wait, watch, that is nothing. So, what they are doing, they are going to, even interact anything and the background task will go on. An ability to define the task when a long running XHR call is over. Right? So, same way, I've already said like then, done, your join, all of them, right? So then and done are the most appropriate things here. You can define your task after these things are over. Right? So long running waiting task, the task can be defined after long running XHR call being finished. Can chain multiple calls. As I said, like you can chain promises, you can chain them to define your task in a sequence. Do this, then do that, then do that. So promises will take care of them and it will perform accordingly. Task can be defined to be done after the completion of multiple parallel processes or any processes out of the set of processes. Join and end. So let's say parallel running processes you have defined. And what you wanted to do, as soon as all of them have been finished, I do this one. So this flexibility, and this is the advantage that we are getting out of it. And also any that I have already explained, like same way you have parallel running processes, all of them are running, and you want to achieve something when a particular task has been done. So any is helpful. We proceed with the demo. Let me open the Visual Studio. Let us create a new project where we can write something there to set the promises on. Let's create a blank app. Name it as Promises Demo 1. Imagine if you have nothing to do and you're watching this dialogue which without a progress bar or anything done in front of you. Creating Was it? Let's see how we can do it. Looks like the background thread is running in too much time.
Got it? Okay, we're here. It's taking time. So we don't need on activate and on checkpoint right now. I'm just removing them, adding a app dot. Not sure, sometimes Windows behaves like this. But I'm ready. So this is the event in which we are going to deal with, but before to that, let's move to the HTML. It's visible or okay. So let us add a span. Remove the content. We'll set the ID as span start. So let's add another one which should say span progress, so you can show the progress indicator there, and the other one is span completed. Yes, and let's add a button. Type button, we'll add a ID btn get data. Okay, so the aim of the application is when I click the button, it will fetch something from the web, and the start will show the promise is starting, progress will show the promise in progress, and the completed will show we are completed. In order to do that, let's do a document dot get. No, sometimes is very crazy. Get element ID. Oh, sorry. Let's do one thing. Close and open it. Hope intelligence works this time. Yes. This is the button. Add click. So a function to handle the click event. That is so fine. By ID. Say as soon as I click it, let me show this as started. Let us have breaks here. Always. Okay. After this. Okay, let us switch outside. So URL hello. Just let me remind. Huh? Okay. So we're going to fetch it. So we can see then, and you can see here complete, error, and in progress. The first one is complete. So let me write a complete handler. Then it's error. Let me write a error handler. And the other one is the in progress one. Just to arrange it. The first one is complete. So what we are going to do, we'll use SPM completed. Completed. Nothing to write in errors for now. I'm sure it's not going to turn error. Just need to verify if it is in progress. No, it's progress. Need to check. Okay. Let's try now. Okay, so it started, and since it was a huge and a long running process, so in progress indicator shows, and then the completed one. This is just a simple example of the promise, how it's really work in real life. We can use the chaining here as well. Let me do a quick chaining. I write winjs dot, we use the promise dot timeout object. In timeout method, let me say 2000 millisecond. Set it then. Just right here. Okay. I just try to chain here. After this one get fetched, then I want to have a delay of 2 seconds. Then I need to display this completed message. Now see, this completed function is the only one necessity. The other ones are optional. So we can define error in progress method. Depends on us. Now let's see. Started, in progress, ended with error. Good. Something missed. Then one is timeout. Shit. Do you think I have extra bracket? Which one?
For the first thing, first I was doing myself.
Oh, yeah, yes, correct, correct, correct. Yeah. We are waiting and completing. Okay. So this is how the chaining works. Now to demonstrate quickly the join. It is, we can say it started. Let's take them out from here. Function. Okay. The original set. Let me define few parallel promises, and we get the URLs from our mobile blog site itself. Take them few. Say about us. So now I have 3 promises in hand. What I need to do to create an array. Say promise array. Array with 3 elements. Let's say. Okay. I'm going to do. In the first element, I want to store the first promise results. In the second element, I want to store the second promise. Don't worry, this can be dynamic as well. And at the end, say win.js dot promise dot join. It needs a object value, so we can pass the promise array here. Let's say 10 function. Let's change this display a bit. Let us use the in progress array. We're moving it from here. We'll say completed. Let us store it in a variable. Better practice. Completed first one. Completed first one, and here we are going to do second one. Completed third one. Okay, you may not, we cannot assume like the first one is going to complete itself first, so we can replace it like first one. Okay, so as soon as we are done, this span will say us this is completed. when all of them are done. Let's see. Started. Okay, the other ones are very quick. So the first one, second one, see the third one completed first. First one, third one, then the second one. So as soon as we are all done, we got the completed one, right? So this is how join works in real life scenario. And quick demonstration on any, just a replacement of join. So let's see which one is. See, it's a fraction of second, but as soon as the first one gets completed, you got the completed message here, very quick. Okay, so these are couple of demo examples. Going back to our presentation. So these are a couple of real life examples how Promise is being implemented. Of course, these are a few samples, and this arrays and grouping of promises, all this can be done dynamically. Even we can call the Ajax, so we can run the Ajax call using the array methods and everything, right? So we don't need to do it like array1, array2, array3. It can be done. Just for demonstration purpose, I have used that 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I think I'm done with my Promise demo. Now I'm expecting questions, and I hope I'll answer them. Yeah.
Like if I have a chain of 5 promises, like do first one, then second one, then third one. But in between first one and second one, if there is an error, so will it goes for the third one?
No, it won't. Actually, it will go through the error block. See, if you have a chain, then you must have a dot then, right? So as soon as you go for then, you will get the promise object with where the error is being embedded. So it will go to the error block. It's not go to the completed block, right? Because in chaining, what you are doing usually? In chaining, when this is done, then do this, then do this, right? If the first then, you must have 3 handlers: completed, then your error, and in progress, right? So if you have placed your chain inside the completed handler, then if you get an error, then completed handler will not hit anyway, right? You will get the hit at error block. You getting my point? So in that scenario, it will not go to the third one. Let's say if you are straightway using then no, you cannot skip. Anyway, you have to go through these 3 handlers. So whether you have to define and complete, the chain should be in the completed method. So as soon as you completed this task, the chain, the first item of the chain has to be done, and then the error, then the in progress. So if you get any error in the first one, then you will head to the error block. If you have some task been defined in the error block, then that will get executed.
So better to use join. Like I have 3 tasks need to be done parallel or something one after another. So we use join so that it can.
It depends. If you use join, then your chaining may not work. If you're in chain, what happens? If the second chain item, we assume the second chain item is dependent on the first chain item, right? So if you break the chains, if you process them parallel, as you have seen in the demo, the first one perform first, then the third one, and the second one. So if it's a parallel processing, then you can go for join. If it is not a parallel processing, then you have to make this chain.
If you have a chain system and you get some error in that, then what Radu is telling that if you join them, all the 4 items, 5 items, if they will complete, then the join will work. If the error occurs, you can cancel the first
What do you mean by cancel?
if error, you can cancel that promise.
You can cancel, but what is the question?
No, I was.
Oh, okay, it's the information. Oh, okay.
So if I cancel something, so if the half of the things has been done, so will it get removed or just
That depends on you. That depends on your code. Cancel can only happen when it's in progress mode. It's not going through an exception though.
So whatever that storage, purpose storage.
And that you have to handle. While cancelling, you have to handle like.
You should clean up.
Yeah, if I am cancelling, then you have to handle it. So clean up the contents or clean up the arrays or this storage, whatever I have done.
So suppose there are three data tables are there, and I am inserting one after another. In one function, I am one function block I am adding business, one second one images, and third one data, another data. Suppose on the second block it gets array, and I have cancelled it at that point. So the data whatever get added for the first block.
See, that you have to handle it because the data has already been gone. You have already committed. It's not, it doesn't work like a transaction. I mean, if you roll back somewhere, then every transaction will work. No. It's just a way to handle the long task. So, if you are cancelling it somewhere, if you are getting some error somewhere, then you have to erase your, you have to wipe out all your previous things that you have already done. I mean, your code has to do that. Is that clarified?
Then it returns a promise. To handle that promise, what will do? And after then you have to put a then and handle that promise. How will you handle it?
What will be handle that?
Suppose you said that then returns promise.
Yes.
After that then function, you have to put a done function and to handle that what is returned by then. How to handle it?
No, if you are going to handle, as simple as you are just saying, if you are handling a then, so at the then returns a promise. So if you define a variable to handle this then, that's also going to work. Let's say var x is equal to do a promise, right? That then function will anyway return a promise object. If you have no further code, then this variable will get populated with a promise object, as the function is doing. In a normal scenario, when you are handling a function which is returning a string or something, so var x is equal to the function. So that string gets stored into the variable. The similar fashion. If you have a then at the end, after completion of everything, then return flag something. If it finds a variable and which is being assigned, then the promise object gets populated with that. If it is not, then simple way it does nothing. Leave it over there. But if it's done, then it returns undefined because it assumes the chain is complete.
When we cancel our promise object, so which of the handler is for success or error handler?
In progress, no, error will never get called. Success will also not get called. So what usually happens when you are cancelling, you have to handle the cancel in a separate way. It's promise dot cancel. With just promise dot cancel. It's a separate method of clear. So it will not hit the previous one. It only get hit when the promise is in progress. The three handlers I have shown: completed, error, and in progress. Suppose your control hits the in progress, and let's say you have assigned a variable to the promise. You can write like that variable dot cancel. It immediately checks what is the status of the promise. If it is in progress, then cancel. It never hits an error because it's not an error. It's your intervention, you are hitting it. That is separate thing if you have a code error, but it will not explicitly hit to the error block. Any other questions? I'd like to answer more. Yeah.
We have also promises in JQuery. So how it is different in?
No, it's not different.
Both are same.
It's not different. Syntactical difference are there, but it's not different. The concept is same.
Supposedly, we have a var promise object equal to the SSR call dot var, and we have to do some manipulation in that promise object. That promise object we are writing. So, in that case, the next line of code we are writing that promise object equal to supposedly say something else, means some manipulation on the object. Then will the code wait for this promise object to fetch, or
Yes. No, it anyway gets executed or will do nothing. Other way around. When you are defining something where x is equal to a promise function or then function whatever, it treated as a promise object afterwards, right? Because your intelligence is smart enough to understand. If I write that variable hit dot, then it started treating as a promise object. Okay, let's say you have written something there in the code. Do my promise, and after the promise block, you have done something else or some other treatment to that promise variable. Obviously, that will not work properly because control is not going to wait for that statement to execute. If that promise variable is being treated somewhere in the handlers, completed in progress or somewhere in there, then control is going to wait till that complete and handlers will get out. Because JavaScript, as I said, it never waits for the for the promise. Promise being hit, next line gets executed. It's not going to wait. So if you are handling there somewhere, let's say you are checking promise not equal to null and doing something. So at that particular time, maybe you get a null because the promise is in progress yet.
So to do manipulation with that promise, then we will have to add a then to that promise.
Usually you have to wait for that. I mean, this chaining mechanism has to be implied there. Because if you are dealing with an object where you need a value, right? And if the manipulation on the object is not yet completed, then how can you get your value? You are getting a point? Because as I said, in the line of codes, it will never wait for the other one. Like you have a loop. The loop is running in the foreground itself. So the next line, end of the loop, will wait till the loop gets completed. It's not overlook the loop. But if you have a promise in between, it will hit the promise and move next. It will not wait till the promise is finished and then move to the next line. No. If you have something to do which will be done after promise is finished, then you have to put that into the completed handler. Yes, it's success or error. I mean, whatever handlers you are wanted to use.
Generally, in forward function, we want to return some data from that function we can return. So in promise also, if there are 3 blocks and the other first one returns something and then that should be consumed by the second one.
Yes, that's the chaining one.
So now, suppose the first function returns some data which needs to be added on the second one.
Of course. Yes, this is possible.
So from where we will get that data?
In the same way, in the completed function, you are anyway getting the data from the first one. We have not treated here. Actually, that function you can add a parameter. Same way you are doing in callbacks. So in completed handler, if you add a parameter, you will get a promise object out of it. The response being processed. See, you have as I said, like winjs.xhr, and in the xhr you have the URL being called, right? The output of that xhr is get carried forward to the then method of completed, right? So if I wanted to display the HTML on screen, what is being fetched from the mindformobiles.wordpress.com, I can show that on screen as well, because those output is carrying forward to then method and to the completed method, completed handler. So you can deal with that. So if you want to make that chaining, like the first one will yield some result and that will get consumed in the second one, same way. Define the first promise, dot then in the completed handler will get the response back from there, consume that response and call the next promise. Now dot then you will get the responses back from the second promise, consume, and in the same way. That is how chain works. Otherwise there is no meaning of having a chain there. Does it clarify your question? Any more questions? Okay. Thank you all for being here, spent your precious time out of this work days, and a big thank for making some interaction and asking questions to make this session live.